Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming and welcome to the City Candidate Commission Forum hosted by the Republican Party of Otero County. This is a non-partisan election. This is not an endorsement by the party of any one candidate. This is just a introduction and something for y'all to get to know them and to ask them questions. Before we begin the meeting, I'm going to ask City Commissioner Aaron Rance to do the invocation, and City Commissioner Josh Reardon will lead us in the pledge.
If you'll bow with me, please. Lord God, we want to pray now for our civic leaders in office and those seeking office. Father, we pray that our leaders would be people who are concerned with your concerns, that they would act justly, show mercy, and walk humbly. We pray that our leaders would not be concerned for their own power, their own status, or own glory, Lord. Rather, we pray that they would seek to serve the people who they represent. Father, we particularly lift up those leaders who recognize you as Lord of Lords and King of Kings. We thank you for their faith, and we ask that you would give them the courage and wisdom to make bold decisions that bring glory to you. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Please follow me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Rance and Commissioner Reardon. This time I'd like to introduce to you our Republican Party board. I am chairman of the Republican Party, and my name is Rocky Galasini. Tim Rabin is first vice chair. Tim is signing people in back there. David Gonzalez is helping Tim. Oh, David is over here. David's going to be our timekeeper tonight. David Gonzalez is second chair. Marianne Phillips is in the back, and she is our treasurer. And Angie Wolf, our secretary, is teaching a class tonight, so could not make it. We do have, let's see, several elected officials. If you'll help me welcome and our elected officials, we have Judge Bill Brogan, District Court Judge, right over here. We have Judge Jean Galasini, Magistrate Court Judge. We also have Representative Yvette Harrell, Senator Bill Burt, both of whom are running for re-election, so please vote. We have also our moderator for this evening and here tonight, County Commissioner Ronnie Reardon. We have Mayor Ron Griggs somewhere right here. Commissioner Ed Cole is back here. Commissioner Rance, who is somewhere, and Commissioner Josh Reardon. And I'm sorry, we have County Commissioner Tommy Harrell back here too as well. You didn't check in with me at the desk, Tommy. Thank you all again for coming. This is really, really an important event for the city of Alamogordo and for the county of Otero. You know, there is what they call an extraterritorial zone that reaches far beyond the city of Alamogordo, or the city limits of Alamogordo. So many people who live in the county have a lot of concerns about what happens in this city. And so I'm glad to see that we have some county residents here as well that are as interested, although we cannot vote, we are interested in what happens in the city. Also, I'm just going to briefly introduce a couple of, this is an election year, if y'all haven't noticed. I don't know if you've paid attention on the news or not, but we do have several candidates here, and I will make introduction to them. But also on the back table, we have information on all the candidates that are running for the Republican Party here. Many of them also have nominating petitions that must be signed, so please help these candidates get on the ballot. They need them to get on the ballots. Filing deadline is March 20th, so please make a point to get back there and sign some of the candidates' petitions, pick up the information that the candidates have to offer, and also the information that the Republican Party has back there. We have a calendar of events. We have a lot of things going on this election year. We'd love to see all of you there. So, and Bill said the cookies are good, so eat the cookies. So with no further ado, I think I've done all my talking, and Commissioner Raridan is just chomping at the bit to get this started. So Commissioner Ronnie Raridan will be our moderator for the evening. Please welcome Commissioner Raridan.
Well, thank you all for coming out tonight. It's going to be a nice, fun night. We've got a great group of people running for office for the City Commission, and this forum is to inform you, the public, where they stand, what they believe, and help you make a better informed decision. Now, Rocky, where'd Rocky go? Rocky, you had said something about handing out green cards, and then did you?
Green cards? No, I'm not handing out anything.
Well, the color green. Okay, now those cards are going to be to vote in advance in your district, if you're in the district. Try to figure out who you would vote for right now. Is that correct? And then after the form is over, we would like you to vote again and see if your mind was changed on something you heard. And the reason for this is we're going to share what you tell us with the candidates so they can better sharpen their skills and know their strengths and their weaknesses. But then it's just kind of fun to know where everybody's landing and understand. If you'd like to do that, it says, I have just first saw it, we're so organized. We were before and after, and then there's comments on the bottom. If you want to write a candidate a comment, it'll only go to that candidate. And if you want to say, hey, you were nervous, or talked too fast, or you stood too close to Commissioner Raridan, anything that would give them edge up, it would really help them, and I bet they would appreciate hearing from you. Because most of these guys are new now. We do have some incumbents here, and I want to recognize them because when she introduced elected officials, these people are still elected officials. Robert Register, Joe Ferguson, and I'm missing one. Is there one more incumbent running? No, there's not. These two are. Oh, did they? Oh, yeah. He took the easy road. No, he served well, and we appreciate your service. We really do. All right. Now, I want to explain some rules before we start. There'll be no biting, no hitting below the belt. We want you to keep all of your personal feelings about another candidate to yourself. And in your questions, we want you to make them to the group, not to a specific commissioner or person. We're not here to put people down. We're here to learn and be educated on what they stand on. We don't really care what they think or you think about what the other guy thinks. We want to know what each person has to say so that we can make an informed decision. There will be a timekeeper. And who is going to be the timekeeper tonight? David is up. And David will have some cards, I'm sure. Will you just yell time?
Yes, I'll make it time.
Okay, you're going to get 2 minutes to answer the question, group. And then, if you're answering a question and it goes to another candidate that's in your district that has said something before you, we'll give you a 1 minute rebuttal back so that everybody has a fair chance. I hope this is fun tonight. I hope it's relaxing tonight. I hope you don't get tense. We're here to learn, and we all make mistakes, but I'll tell you, I've done this for 20 years. It's the best thing to do is to bring the public out and speak to them. We already talked about the votes. Now, the audience, you'll be able to ask 5 questions. I'll ask from you all, and there'll be a basket over here by David or someplace At intermission, after we ask about 5 questions from the party to the candidates, then we're going to take a 10-minute break, get some water, drinks, and some refreshments. Write your questions in, or if you already know them, go ahead and write them. Keep them brief. Don't make them a 5-part question, and please don't direct them at just any one person, but direct them to, if you were a commission, which person wants to answer this. And we'll see what we can do. We'll try to do our best to get all the questions in. Time will tell if we can. And then let's see, if I see a duplicated question, I'll just ask, we've already answered that, and we'll move on from that. Now, starting right now, I want to have the candidates introduce themselves. Ms. Chappell, would you start and just say your name real quick? You just stay right there if you want. Okay. And you don't get that, just your name.
My name is Richard Chappell.
And you are District
7.
Al?
You just said, Al Hernandez, District 5. I'm Tom All, District 7.
I'm Susie Galea, and I'm also District 7.
Chris Lujan, District 5.
Jason Walden, I'm District 1.
I'm Maria Alicia Rios, District 3.
I'm Robert Valdez, District 5.
Joe Ferguson, District 5.
Robert Mansford, District 3.
All right, I asked them to do that. Could you hear them okay? Did everyone, Ms. Rios, you kind of spoke low. You might need to come to the microphone or I'll hand it to you. I think the rest of you spoke rather good, and there's nothing worse than spending 2 hours and not being able to hear. If you can't hear, just interrupt and go, I can't hear, because we don't want you to leave here not being able to hear. All right, now, I have had the privilege, and it's an honor to be asked to MC this event. I get to pose questions that are designed to educate us on y'all's views, on your position, and better inform us, the public, of what you candidates stand for, and how your vote will go so you can win our vote. After, again, the candidate speaks, if there's a rebuttal from someone who's talked, you'll have 1 minute. All right, and at the very end of this whole thing, if we have time, everyone will have 3 minutes to give a closing statement, closing argument, if you will. That's for Judge Brogan. He's here somewhere. Closing argument, and then you see if you can win the jury, the constituents over. Now, I'm going to give you all the questions. Before I ask you, if for some reason you don't understand the question or you didn't hear the question, simply say, I'm sorry, I did not understand, or could you repeat the question? I'll be more than happy to repeat it one time. Now, I'm going to start off. I have the privilege of asking the first question, and I need you all to listen up very, very close. I'm going to first give you a scenario, and then I'm going to ask you the question. Here's the scenario. Let's assume you have been elected by the people and you're the next city commissioner for your district. And you have been in office for 2 months, and you have now had time to read through the thousands of pages of document you will be handed when you take office. These are documents you'll need to know and understand, and you're at home one night at 8:30 in the evening, and you receive a call from a constituent who wants to know where you stand on this issue. Here's the issue. Your constituent has heard that a mining company was wanting to come to town and bring with them 170 good-paying jobs. But the problem is there's an RS-2477 issue with the access of their private property. BLM, acting under the Supremacy Clause, has invoked police powers over this access and have filed a criminal trespass on the mining company. You know the BLM has violated Section 217 or 215, Section 7 of FLIPMA, and they have they know that they've also violated the 10th Amendment in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. BLM refuses to discuss this with any of you as a representative of the people. Here's your question. Tell me first where you stand on Section 7 in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution and FLIPMA, and what would be your next move? Now, wait a minute, I'm sorry. That's going to be a question for the county commissioners at our forum next month. I'm so sorry. Here's your question. Do you feel Alamogordo has adequate police force on the streets to protect Alamogordo? Who would like to answer that question first? Go ahead, sir. State your name.
My name is Robert Valdez. The Alamogordo Police Department, they need more officers. They need another building. Period. They need more better equipment up there. I was raised in this town, I was born in this town. When I was going to junior high, that police department was there. I graduated from high school, that police department was there. I went in the military, came home for emergency leave. Police department was still there. That they had less officers what they got now. There's over 100 police officers want to get in, but they can't get in there because they don't have the money for it. I live across the street from the police department on 7th Street. I'm the only house on the block. That house been there since the 1800s. But we are in the 21st century. I see maintenance people every day going to that building. We need better equipment. We need another police department. A bigger department, a better security that Alamogordo will have for the residents. We have a lot of things going out there. Half of these officers can't make it there in time. I went to a small little town in Arizona, smaller than this. They got better equipment than they do. They got better officers down there.
30 seconds.
I figure if we move the police department and give them the equipment they want and more officers and more cameras throughout the city, we'll be a lot safer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Olive, if you'd like to
Yes.
answer.
My name is Tom Olive, District 7. First, I have to honestly say, I don't know how many police we have in this town. I don't know.
71.
71. But by the measure of any time a police officer responded to any issue in my store or the number of tickets I got, I would say there's enough police officers.
Thank you. Ms. Chapman.
Just I wanted to say, as an incoming candidate for commissioner, I would have to look at the complaints, make an evaluation, see if there was any legitimacy to those complaints, as to also what might contribute, whether it was short of police officers or equipment or whatever caused maybe the problem or the issue to be an issue. But to say this is wrong or that's wrong, from my vantage point as of now, I certainly couldn't attest to that.
Thank you. I'll come right back to you. Let me see if anyone on this side wants to speak. Joe?
Okay, well, since I know a little bit about it, I'll explain a couple of things. Number one, we have a combination fire and police department. We save the city over $2 million a year by doing that. So, I think that we need to give these guys more money. We don't have enough officers. There's times when the city only has 3 patrolmen out. That's during the day. We'll have one in the center of town, one in the south of town, and one in the north of town. We've got 4 calls. We're in trouble. And that's what's happening right now. We need to do something about that. We need to hire more people. We need to give them a bigger budget. He didn't spend everything that he was supposed to spend last year. This year, I'm going to make sure he spends that and more, because that's the city's #1 job, is to protect the people. That's the first job. Second is the streets and other stuff. We're going to go into that later. But that's their job. That's what they need to do. They work 12 hours a day. They're only out in the streets 10 hours. 2 hours they're in the station. It shouldn't be that way. Los Cruces has it. They do their reports right in the patrol car. And I'm sure everybody's run across it where you had to give a police report and you couldn't get it. And it was 2 or 3 days after the incident. And you couldn't get a copy of it. That's ridiculous. You should have it within 2 days. Because if somebody slashes your tires and you got to and you got to report it, give a copy of the report to the insurance company, and you can't get it for 3 weeks. That's ridiculous. And that's what's happening, and we need to fix that. And to answer your first question, I'll stand by the Constitution 100%.
My first question was an icebreaker, just to let you know. No, I would not really do that to you. That's a pretty complicated question. I was just teasing with you in case you didn't know. Robert, did you want to answer? And then I'll go back to you.
Let me talk to that a little bit. I believe right now the 71 officers is adequate. We certainly have some problems within DPS. And one of the major ones is the way that we're working with the county, with the sheriff's department. I don't see Benny here tonight. But we need to see DPS and Otero County Sheriff's Department work together better. They kind of butt heads right now. They're not cross-commissioning. We've got to get some stuff worked out there. And I also believe that the 3 officers we're talking about that are on at one time is a shift change. What we really need to do there is look at these guys going in and working for 2 hours on the reports. I see no reason why they can't sit in their patrol cars out on white sands and be visible, slowing traffic down just by their presence and finish the reports out there. So I think we have plenty of officers. I think the situation could be better organized, and I believe it will be in the future here. We're working hard on our relations with the county, and I expect those relations to firm up and become a solid thing where we're seamless when we respond with the county.
And a disclaimer, our county sheriff is an elected official. Me and Tommy have no control over that.
In our city's last quarterly report, it stated that of our 70 officers, there were 5,000 calls to them for service. That's a lot of calls for service, and I think they're doing a great job handling the complaints and needs of our citizens. There were 2 basic training candidates that went through in the last quarter, and I think that would be great if we can continue to bring new police onto the force ever so often, but I think 2 in the last quarter was a good addition to our police force. In the last quarter, they did a little over 1,400 hours in advanced police training. I think they're doing a great job there, but I would like to see funding continue, and that should not be a place that our budget would cut funding to.
Alex. Jason?
Jason Malden, candidate for City Commission District 1. In that report about the DPS department, I understand there are several calls, but you have to look at the situation as a whole. How many calls they have to go out to, about the crime rate is now we're on right now. I think it's actually lower than the per capita for New Mexico. The most important thing as it comes to all the departments with the city of Otero is that they're given the tools and the funding and the manpower to do what they need to do.
Anyone else? Okay.
I'm one for, excuse me, I may have to look to that mic. I'm one for assessing whether or not we need a police force, doing an actual survey of what needs to be done and what needs to be accessed. I'm also for updated equipment and bringing the police force into the 21st century. There's a lot of need for countywide security, and I agree with Robert on that. The need to work with other police forces in the area and consolidate our efforts, have one effort that provides the citizens of the county with the safety and security that they deserve.
Thank you. One more. Chris?
First thing I would do is sit down with the police chief, or the chief of police, and the city manager, go over the quarterly reports for at least the past year. Look at the numbers and find out that the numbers tell us whether we need more officers or even less officers. I think that we definitely need another code enforcement. When I was on, I think it first started, we were something like 20 calls behind a day. So it was more of responding calls instead of going out there and enforcing the warranties. But real quick, and I know this is going to come up, the fund center. This is one of the reasons why I'm against the fund centers, because I know they say that the taxes are going to cost you this much a year to have the fund center, but the problem is how much is it going to cost for 5-10 years to down the road? How much is it going to cost for staff? The library, we wanted a new library, and that was great, but were we going to be able to fund it? They wanted to cut back hours, cut back on Sunday, but yet they wanted a new library. Well, you can't even support the library you have, people want a new library. Same thing here with the fund center. If we're going to if you're gonna have it, you gotta be able to support it. For the citizens, it's easy to say, yes, we want fun center, I think it'd be great, so I want it. And it's easy to go vote. You're a city commissioner, you don't have that privilege. You can't just say, oh, I want it, I'm gonna vote for it. You have to look at the numbers, you have to make sure they make sense. And so whatever's in the budget, it's gonna go for over here to make up for it not being self-supportive. When there's things over here that if we need more officers, if we need more code enforcement, those are priorities. Those are things that we really need in the city. And so we're taking it and we're putting it over here where I'm telling you, the numbers don't make sense. We're not going to be able to support it, and it's taking away from the things that are important. First thing that's brought up is police, DPS, public safety. That's what's important. That's where the numbers are going to go. That's where the money needs to go.
Thank you. All right. Well, now we'll get along. Now, after this question, I'm only going to be able to take a couple of answers, maybe from a couple I'll have to pick. And if I skip you, jump up and down, because I'll make sure everybody gets to speak. I'll go ahead and we'll let this.
I can't put my hand up. He kept looking around.
I did not.
The answer to the question is, I believe so. And Joe Ferguson touched a little bit on the makeup of our police department. Not only do we have policemen that do both fire and police, we also have detectives. We also have narcotics agents. We also have agents that go out of the field, that they trade off and on. We have a lot of different people that work within the police department. So the 71 number that you were given is not policemen on the street. Okay? The policemen on the street are very few, and so yes, I believe we do. I live a rock throw away from the police station. Not that I would throw a rock at them. Sometimes it takes 15 to 20 minutes to get to my home if I call them. Okay? It's not because they're out eating donuts or whatever else some of us may think of them, but it's because they may be on a fire call. They may have two of them at Walmart on a shoplifting call. Some people think, well, on a shoplifting, some of them guys get pretty violent. Okay? So you've got to take those people into consideration. My wife was a probation parole officer. Sometimes they'd go to a home and ask for backup. They'd have to wait 15, 20 minutes, an hour, maybe the next day to get that police officer there to back them up because they are busy. So that 71 number that you guys heard, those aren't on the street. Okay? So yes, I believe we do need more police, better training, and work on getting things a lot more efficient with them on the reports.
And I just took a wild guess at 71. No, I'm kidding. There's about 70. I think that's right. Josh, do you know?
I think it's right around 70.
About 70. I wasn't kidding. Okay, that's great. Here's a very good question. The city has set aside $600,000 for the bond refinance and the quality of life funds for the purchase and remodel of a building for the Tularosa Historical Museum, which is the old Plaza Pub that everyone knows down here. The question is, would you be in favor of earmarking these funds for the renovation and the historical Plaza building for a museum? And I'm going to let Mr. Rensler have his hand up first. I'm going to let him speak.
Plaza Pub's been with us a long time, since 1937. We all love that building. It's a great building. The problem with the building is this, it's worth probably in excess of $1 million to put it into any kind of shape at all to make it usable. And that kind of money is simply not available. If it was, you put it all back together, you've got all the problems at First Century. No parking, there's this, there's that, and it kind of just uses up another chunk of Alamo Gordo for public buildings. The $600,000 we set aside, we're trying to do something really good for the Historical Society. What we'd really like to see them understand is that saving the plaza and their home are probably two different things. We've looked at a couple of properties around Alamo Gordo, one of them being the Public Defender's Office, the old Public Defender's Office just south of Foundry Park, the old Sheffield building there, and the Inkwell. In those buildings, either one of them we could obtain for about $300,000. What that would say is that they'd have $300,000 left to renovate with. So, if they did take that building, well, it's right there south of Founders Park. You can open it right up into Founders Park. Now you'd have more than just the guys needing an extra dollar out there in Founders Park walking. Now, maybe any of y'all ever been there before? Anybody ever walked around there before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here, right there.
My guess is 9% of people in here have not been.
30 seconds.
So, and we also have some money earmarked for that big parking lot just to the south of the Sheffield building. We're going to fix it up with some sort of, I don't know, a wall or something that would have niches in it, bells, crosses, whatever, that would take your eye off the back of the buildings of New York. And really, this is about, I mean, if the county, again, would like to have that building, and there's been some suggestion that they would run it on a bond issue next November, the city would be glad to give it to them. But this is the thing, they've told me if their bond issue fails, we get it back.
We're not here to discuss politics later. I mean, on a different thing. Okay, Chris, you got
The Historical Society came to us, and they, when I was on commission, they presented that they had all the money, they had everything they needed to get that building done. So they kind of used us, I hate to put it like this, but they used us to funnel the money to the state so they could get it finished, and then out of nowhere, they come back to us and tell us, well, we don't have everything we need, and here you go, have fun with it. I don't want to get back into that mess again. If they want to do something, and I support the Historical Society, and it's great to have knowledge out there and present, the history around the portal, but what we need to do is, I know there's people, for a fact, I know there's people who want that building, who would like to purchase it and open it back up into a restaurant. It's a historic part around the portal, and it would be there in use, and so I would look more towards that.
Thank you.
I'm Susie Galea, District 7. I'm for the Historical Society. I think it's a very important member of our community. I think in order to move forward, we need to understand our history and where we've come from. However, I'm not for earmarking a bond that was passed for the specific use. I would like to see that bond redistributed to our debt services fund, and then have the city citizens vote specifically for those bond issues, as he was speaking about, or other things. That's not what the people voted that bond for originally, and I'm not for earmarks. Thank you.
One more.
I'm certainly for the Historical Society, but I'm certainly not for earmarks. I believe that probably, even on the national level, even though this is a partisan meeting, that I believe the Democrats have made, there have been many, many earmarks. And I don't think we want to get into that. But I certainly support the Historical Society. I think it's important for us to maintain our roots. And certainly, since even just the name historical sort of conjures up something in my spirit. As far as the Family Entertainment Center, I'm 1,000%.
We're not speaking to that one right now.
Oh, okay.
I let Chris get off on that. I will keep you on that. Let me reiterate, this question was $600,000 from the bond refinance and quality of life funds, which I believe could be used for quality of life. And the building was bought with state funds, so y'all might want to think about that the next time someone brings that question up to you. All right, next question. And once you spoke this time, I'd ask you to not raise your hand on this one unless nobody else wants to answer. On Tuesday, March 6th, on the ballot, there will be a question on a proposal to change the city's charter to move from 7 commissioners who currently select the mayor and mayor pro tem to 6 commissioners and an elected mayor at large. A simple question. Well, you know what? We could all answer this. A simple yes or no. Actually, the person wants to know why. Keep it short. Are you for or against this, and why? You've already spoken. Joe?
I'm certainly for it. Mayor at large, I believe that the mayor represents the city of Alamogordo 100%. And I believe that the people ought to have some input. I think that by not voting directly for the mayor, I believe that perhaps that might have lent a little bit of a disconnect. So simply put it in yes, 100 the mayor at large. We had a great mayor even now by it.
And let me reiterate. Try to listen up. Those who spoke a while ago, let's let somebody else speak. Joe?
I'll tell you, I'm for it because basically it's going to be a popularity contest, but I think folks can decide better for themselves than 6 other guys sitting up there. You know, the folks will be able to actually see because they'll be competing just like we're competing now and having forums and things like that, which I think is great. But, you know, the people will be a lot better informed that it's actually what each candidate that's running for mayor stands for, where you can't do it now. You have to represent on the council decide who's going to be the mayor. Well, let's just, we get 4 guys together and we decide. Well, I don't think that's right. I think folks ought to be able to decide who's the mayor. People talk about the cost. It doesn't cost the city any more money. It's going to cost that candidate more money. He's got to run citywide instead of just in this district. But I think the folks ought to be able to decide and see where these candidates actually stand with some forum just like this, instead of amongst 7 guys.
Thank you, Joe. One of y'all who spoke, Mr. Oliver?
My name is Tom Oliver from District 7. I voted for that. And you all get to decide too. And I'm happy with where that will be.
You voted for that?
I voted for the mayor.
Okay.
And
I know Mr. Rinsler wants to speak, but any of y'all who didn't speak before? Oh, no, go ahead, and then I'll let you. Jason. You, Jason.
Inevitably, it's the citizens who will decide that situation. And of course, we all have to start somewhere. The city commissioners, of course, the incumbents have to start somewhere. So if we decide that that's the route we're going to go as far as electing a mayor at large, they'll start exactly where we are, and hopefully the city staff will be able to put them in a position where they can make the best decisions, of course, with the guidance of the city commission that we currently have.
Thank you.
Some of you all really have great voices that we can hear, and some of you are not putting enough energy into your voice and getting the strain of this. Please take that for what it's worth.
Let's let Robert.
Mayor Large, well, I'm opposed to it. I'll tell you that right off. And I'm going to tell you why. Right now what happens, and for those of you that don't know, and I'm sure many of you don't know, the city commission itself, the 7 commissioners choose a mayor from among themselves. It's a 2-year deal. They get reaffirmed in 2 years if they're still there. And I say if they're still there because if that mayor does something that's despicable, if that mayor does something that you don't want to see your mayor do, and you want to remove him the next city commission meeting, we can reorganize and he'd no longer be the face of the city. So now you want a 4-year mayor that's elected by the citizens of Large. The first thing you do is spend about $25,000 to redistrict from 7 to 6. Once that's done and your mayor is elected, now that mayor does something. And we've had this. Think Sunland Park. Anybody remember Frank Carp? He was arrested in office. Now you want to get rid of this guy. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go out to the entire city, to the registered voters. You got to get 20% of them to sign a recall petition. And so now we're talking about 6,000 votes. Once that's done, now you're going to go to a recall election. It's going to cost you $25,000 for a yes/no recall election. Once that's done successful, now you're going to have to go, depending upon where the mayor is in his term, you're going to have to go back to the city again and have a mayor at large election, another $35,000. You know what? What we've done works really well. We picked our leader from among ourselves, just like the House of Representatives, just like the New Mexico House of Representatives, the New Mexico Senate does, the U.S. House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate. And I think it works well. We understand each other when we're sitting there looking at each other. We've worked with each other. We know who do the heavy lifting for the city. We know who shines for the city. And I believe that we've done a good job. We've had outstanding mayors from the city in this thing. And the charter was written as it is for the reason that I just spoke of.
Thank you. Al?
I myself do not support the mayor at large, but I will support what the people say. If the people want to elect the mayor at large, I don't have a problem with that. I kind of have to go with what Robert says. Electing a mayor at large puts you at a really strict what you can do with that person. That person has no more authority today than they did yesterday, so it doesn't really change anything. It just gives you the right to elect them. I see that. I hope in 2 years when if we have the mayor at large election, that we have what we have today, 16 candidates, that we have at least 4 or 5 candidates to choose from, so that if we do choose a mayor at large, we can choose somebody that we would want to represent us, the city of Alamogordo.
Would y'all like to say yes or no real quick? Go ahead, Chris.
It's not going to be yes or no. I brought this issue forth to the commission, to the people. I brought it because the people requested it, an overwhelming amount of people. They want that power back into their hands. They want to say who their mayor is. There's good things about it. You'll get to have a say for two representatives on the board instead of just one. Now you have a say for your district commissioner and the mayor. From my side of serving on the city council, the reason why I wanted it was because I think a lot of people say, well, the mayor just kiss babies and cuts ribbons. That's not it. The mayor represents you, represents your city, and your city's going to grow for years to come. And so you want that person, he or she, to be the right person. So if the mayor's on there and feels strongly about an issue, wants to push that issue and speak how he or she really feels, they can't, because they're afraid they're going to upset this commissioner or that commissioner, and they're not going to get the votes to be mayor next time. It shouldn't be that way. You should be able to answer it only to the public, not to the commission. And as far as the numbers, I think those numbers are wrong as far as having a recall. It's not 35,000.
Thank you. Go ahead. One more. Can you hear okay now, Mike?
People have done a great job.
Good. Speak loud, please.
I'm Robert Lewis, District 5. I'm bored. If you see the elections, how many people register voters? How many show up for us to vote? I have talked to a lot of people in the whole entire city. They won't vote because we don't have a mayor elected from the people. They want to have to choose whoever they want. If you have this, you'll have more people register and vote instead of not register. You see a lot of commissions, they come in, you see very little people register to vote, or they refuse to vote. That's what's going on.
Thank you very much. Do you want to say something, Mr.?
I want to ask, is it broken? Is the system that we have broken? And if it is broken, then we should fix it. But if it's not broken, let it be.
I think everybody got in on that. Oh, you did? Go ahead. Might as well. Rocky, I'm not doing real good at splitting.
Cracking away here and there.
Well, both arguments were strong by Mr. Lujan and Mr. Rentschler. I am for mayor at large, but either way the citizens vote yes or no, I'll be satisfied either way. Thank you.
Okay. I think everybody got it. Here's the next question. Oh, would you like to rebut the numbers?
Oh, me?
Yes, sir.
I believe those numbers are pretty correct. When I ran in a special election, it cost, as I recall, about $18,000. And so if you go to run an election in all what would be, now you spent $25,000 to get a district, now you can do it in the entire city, yeah, it's going to cost that kind of money. And again, you know, it works well the way it is. I think we need to just leave it alone. I think that the mayor has good accountability, and the reason that we do that as well, so the mayor does have accountability to the commissioners around him, and therefore to the citizens. And I think the mayor responded to you as it is. There's no doubt about that. As you called Mayor Griggs tomorrow out of my district, he would respond to you just like I would respond to you. So I don't think there's an issue there about getting a response from the mayor.
So we'll both be ignored? No, just kidding.
No.
Just teasing Ron. Ron has always been there for me when I've called him, and I appreciate him. That's right. Next question. I told you it's going to be fun tonight. If you can't have fun, why do you want to do this? I mean, it's not always about absolute seriousness. Holloman Air Force Base is our economic engine. Most people know that now in Otero County. Holloman drives our housing, retail, subsequent tax base. Knowing that an upcoming BRAC, which is base realignment, the Base Realignment Commission, is a couple of years away, the question to you candidates are, what will you do to assure relationships between Holloman Air Force Base continue to be strong and supportive? Go ahead.
I'm Susie Gillier from District 7. not registered voters. I think that their quality of life issues matter, and I think that as the city commission, we need to address those quality of life issues. I think it would make them want to stay here in Alamogordo, and I've met a lot of German and military members in our community that do love the city as it is, but would like to see it enhanced through quality of life issues, such as better drinking water. I'm a military spouse, and when we first got here, we were told don't drink the water. And I think that can be improved. I'm for the Family Fun Center coming in because that is a quality of life issue. They'd like more activities for their friends, their family coming in, and I'd like to see the space continue to stay open. And the city does a good job. Once a year they welcome in Halloween. They do a big event out at Alameda Zoo, and the base appreciates the recognition that the city has for this. Thank you.
On the quality of water, we were just promoting our economic development of our homegrown water supply. Okay, I want to restate the question though. I'm not sure you understood it. BRAC is a base realignment commission that closes bases. Knowing that it's coming up in 2 years, what would you do to assure relationships between Holloman and a strong community in support of the BRAC? I understand your question. Jason has his hand up next, and Al, you
About 2 years ago, I was just finishing my term as the executive director of the Blackhawk Chamber of Commerce. We worked very close with the Alamogordo Chamber of Commerce in reference to You guys can put your green cards away now. Don't judge me on that. A few years ago, when I was leaving as the executive director of the Blackhawk Chamber of Commerce, we worked actually hand in hand with the Alamogordo Chamber of Commerce to make sure the $333 million, maybe at the time is a little bit more, but right now, that Holloman Air Force Base injects into our community stay here. Having missions at Holloman Air Force Base is obviously one of the most important things that we do here at the city. In reference to the exact question, what would I do as city commissioner? Of course, supporting the OCDEC committee, the Committee of 50, the Alamogordo Chamber of Commerce, and as I remember, Mayor Griggs and some of his staff was instrumental in securing some of the missions that we had out there. There's lots of citizens in Alamogordo that did a lot of work in reference to that. Some of our representatives and our state representatives, Mr. Burt, was actually hand in hand in working on those situations. So as far as the City Commission goes, of course, we have to do all we possibly can to support those missions out at Holloman Air Force Base. A lot of people don't realize, despite the airspace we have over Alamogordo, that the BRAC committee was really looking at Alamogordo very seriously over the last couple of years. And there's no certainty for missions out at Holloman. And of course, as we've stated, it's very important for our community.
Thank you.
Living here all my life, I've kind of seen a lot of what the community does for Holloman Air Force Base and what Holloman Air Force does for this community. I think it's very important that we continue to do what we're doing now with all the different committees that work with Holloman and with the commission that works with Holloman. The mayor does a lot with Holloman, Mayor Griggs, and I also work with Mayor Don Carroll, which it was my guess he lived out there because that's where he spent a lot of his time. It's very important that we think about, we lost one senator a couple elections ago, we're fixing to lose another one. That we stay on them to continue to work for us. I mean, Senator Pete Domenici I was scared when he left. He's been the backbone for us, and we need to make sure that these senators that get elected, because they're probably not going to be from around here, that we stay on them to continue to help support Alamogordo and make sure that, they understand what we feel and that we help get them elected.
I myself, being an ex-Air Force person, and my wife as a whole also, active duty and deployed in Afghanistan, who serves out to Holloman Air Force Base. We could do a lot as a city. I believe that we could be perhaps more base friendly, working together with the Chamber of Commerce to cultivate a better and fuller and richer relationship with Holloman. There's a lot of young airmen that are stationed now to Holloman Air Force Base. I don't know whether you're aware or not, but the suicide rate as a whole at Holloman has been very high. And so having just to get off the base, to have something else to do, to come into town and be able to do other things, certainly would help a lot in that area. Also, working with the Chamber of Commerce to cultivate a more economic, friendly way of the airmen who are stationed at Holloman to do business, so that more businesses could offer that 10%. And so that make it much more conducive for them coming into Alamogordo. As a side note, quickly, is to perhaps make it a better place to come and to do shopping, rather. So improving our infrastructure here, the shopping center and all of the rest, certainly would be a lot to help bring Holloman Air Force Base personnel to shop here in the great city of Alamogordo. Thank you.
Okay. Rocky, you say one more question after this?
One more question after this, and then we'll take a little break and take audience questions.
You are the boss. Joe, why don't you speak in, so we can get some more questions, I'll ask another question.
I know this is supposed to be nonpartisan, so I'm going to try and be as best I can. The first thing we need to do is get rid of Leon Panetta and Harry Reid. Leon Panetta is moving all of the defense department, most of their stuff overseas to Asia, Germany, around there. That's where a lot of money's going to be spent. And then you have Harry Reid, he has Nellis over there, and he's going to keep his planes. Of course, Senator McCain needs to keep his, and so that leaves us in the dark. And we need to work with our congressmen and our senators to try and keep them over here. We're supposed to get the F-16s, but if McCain doesn't get the F-35s, then he's going to keep the F-16s. And we need to get the department to start funding those F-35 planes and build them, and we can get those too. So that's where I work. First thing I do is call whatever the president's going to be and say, hey, I want this base to stay open. That's what I do.
Thank you. I'm gonna move on and get y'all, let you guys who have your hands up answer the next question, because I'm supposed to just take a few questions from each one. Would y'all like to hear a water issue or a street issue? Street? All right. Traffic congestion and control has become a real challenge in Alamogordo. What do you see as the main traffic concern, and how will you address them? And Tom, you had your hand up, and I'll let you go first if you want.
Just the question again.
You bet. I'm sorry. Traffic congestion and control has been a real challenge in Alamogordo. What do you see as the main traffic concern, and how will you address them? You don't have to answer if you want me to.
Yeah, I don't really know numbers on traffic issues. I mean, I know that 22,000 cars pass my store every day. You know, and I know at 5 o'clock it gets busy, you know, on the street. But I haven't seen too much congestion. You know, well, I don't know, maybe on the base.
Someone hear that, Ms. Rios?
Thank you. As I said earlier, I'm really one for assessing needs of the city. And I truly believe that we need a plan. We need a long-term and a short-term plan for addressing streets in general. Not just the congestion issue, but where do they go? Some streets go into dead ends and you don't even know it. I mean, I think there's a major need for a needs assessment from staffing to streets. All of it needs to be looked at, evaluated, and a long-term plan and a short-term plan as well be developed.
Thank you. Who else? Ladies first. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm Susie Galea. I think the city is doing a really great job. Here's a map of our streets here. They have a plan where they're resurfacing streets, and I think what we're experiencing when we have a lot of traffic congestion is growing pains. We're growing as a city, and I think the city did a good job building the bypass. It sort of failed when they tried to get scenic to 54, but it didn't quite get to reach there because of the railroad that was built there. But I think the city's done a good job addressing our street issues. They have a plan for resurfacing and filling potholes. I think there are some streets that could be extended. There's a road, Florida, and if that road were extended, I know that the land out there could be developed so that troops coming in here, most of them are single students, and they would be in need of apartments. Apartment buildings could be built out that way and developed there. There's a big need for apartment buildings. I think the streets, the city works is doing a good job. You can see they do have a plan, and I think that if the plan's not working, we can reevaluate that. Thank you.
Chris, and then Chris go, and then you.
But besides when school gets out, which is natural, and there's congestion there, the biggest problem I think everybody will agree with is Florida first. Something definitely needs to be done with that. I know the commission right now is just looking at that, so we need to keep going with that and fix that problem. I think as far as congestion, if that's what the question is about, I think there are some areas that everybody can agree that maybe one street will have more traffic on it because people are trying to avoid certain streets that aren't up to date. And when I was on the commission, I got over $4 million done in streets just in my district alone and infrastructure. And I did the smart way. I didn't just go do the streets that need to be done the right way. I looked and I found the water lines and the sewer lines that were the oldest in the city and needed to be done, to be fixed at the same time. So you don't go and pave a nice street and 6 months later in the winter, it breaks and it tears up the street. So we need to stay on the streets, do them smartly, or smart, I don't know if that's a word, do them smart, like strategically. Thank you very much. Who's a Venus? So anyways, we need to stay on top of the streets as far as that congestion. I think the commission is honestly doing a real good job, and I'm saying every commissioner I think is doing very well on that. We just need to keep doing that.
Robert.
The city recently had a traffic master plan.
Y'all hear it? You're speaking kind of low.
Okay. So the city recently had a traffic master plan done. We went through and looked at all, paid $250,000, I believe, for this traffic plan, and we know where our problems are. You know, you start looking at from that side of the city, Panorama and Hamilton and Florida. You come up to First Street in Florida, because when our city was laid out, it was really fairly sad because they didn't want the horses to get away, right? They wanted to hit something and not be able to go anywhere. Well, it's not real conducive to traffic. Florida in First, the realignment there, we authorized $30,000. The last commission before this one to do the preliminary plan for us. At least we know it's going to cost a lot of money, but at least we'll know where it's going to. Things we are looking at doing, and we have the money to do right now, for instance, one over on Indian Wells in Washington. If you look at that, there's a lot of traffic accidents right there. If you've been on Washington trying to get out, you know that it's painful. You're going to make a left turn in traffic. People aren't using their signals. And what's going to happen there is we're going to take the con and bring it around and align. We already own the building right in front of Washington there. We're going to align the con to Washington and put a light there. Now, I stand here as a guy that despises lights, stop signs, or any kind of traffic control. And that's what I'll tell you. I think it impedes traffic. But there are places that, and that's one of them, that's just absolutely necessary to get it done. The other kind of thing we've been looking at that's reasonable to do is maybe over on Panorama in Florida. Panorama and perhaps, although the new restaurant on Hamilton may interfere, is look at the possibility of using traffic circles. When those first came up, I was pretty well opposed to those. And since then, I've driven a couple of them in Ruidosa and Las Cruces, and I understand for those of you to get out the hall when there's one out there. They tell me they work pretty good. There may be a place or two in Alamogordo to do something like that.
Time.
Thank you, sir. That's going to conclude the questions from the party. I thank you all for that, but it's not over. We're going to take a 10-minute break, get some water, cookies, and say hi. Now, get your questions written down, put them in that basket where Rocky's holding up right there. And we'll go through them and I will try to pick most of the questions.
Okay, let's get this second half started. I just want to make a couple of just quick announcements. If you did not sign in when you came in, would you please do so? We would just like to get a kind of a count of the amount of people. I'm just really thrilled that we've got a better group than we had at the last City Commission Forum. So we're getting there. I think more and more people are becoming interested. And my bad, as the kids say, I mentioned the candidates that were here earlier, but I forgot to introduce them. So if you'll give me a quick deal, let me just introduce Representative Yvette Harrell. District 51 is running again. So far, we have no opposition, and hopefully we'll keep it that way. And if you have not heard Denise, I was going to call you by your sister's name, Yvette speak, she is quite passionate about what she feels, and she's done such a good job for us in Santa Fe that even as a party, we have neglected to thank our legislators for as much as they've done. And thank you from all of us to you and Senator Bill Burt, District 33. Senator Burt was District 40, but redistricting has redistricted him out of 40 and into 33. You're getting younger, Bill. That's good. Let's look at it that way.
We're only true.
There you go. So Senator Burt will also be running for re-election. Well, actually not for re-election. This is actually his first campaign. He was appointed by the governor last year, so this is his first campaign. And that's District 33. In District 34, we have Dion Kidd Johnson back there in the back. Dion is president of Western Bank, and she will be running for District 34, which encompasses 20 precincts in Otero and 10 precincts in Eddy County, from which she hails, and 1 precinct in Doña County. So we are looking forward greatly to seeing all of our candidates succeed. We also have Denise Guerra, who is the heart of the county clerk's office. And if any of you have ever been into the county clerk's office and asked for one little thing, Denise and her crew are absolutely the best. Denise, you guys do a fabulous job down there. I call about every 30 minutes, and Denise is wonderful about answering my questions. So the very best of luck to all of you, and please get out and support our candidates. And I do just want to say that a couple of the candidates here for City Commission did not show up tonight, nor did they call me and tell me they were not going to come. So to me, that's my personal little point here. If you're not going to respond to a forum or an invitation, how well are you going to respond to your constituents? That's just my personal point of privilege. Sorry, but you know how it goes. I call them as I see them.
Why would you give her that?
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, all right. Back to you, Ronnie.
Let me say something, Denise. Caller ID. You guys learn that. Okay, we only have actually 5 questions. We're going to have time for all 5 of them. I think the first one will go rather quickly. These are our constituents who have asked questions. And I'm going to start at that end. I'm just going to ask each one of you to answer yes or no. I don't really think they need an explanation. They just ask this question. Will each of you stand by no more than 2 terms as commissioner? Now, as you know, city commissioners can run continuously because they're nonpartisan. They don't have a party they stand on, unlike county commissioners that do follow 2 terms and you have to term out. So the question again is, will each of you stand by no more than 2 terms as commissioner? If you'll think about it a second, Robert, you can go first.
I stand by the 2 terms.
Al?
I think I'd get everything done I want to in 1 term.
Absolutely. No problem with that.
Yes, I stand by the 2 terms as well.
Yes, my record shows.
If it comes to fruition and I get my first term, yes.
I think 2 terms is quite adequate.
I will go for 1 term.
If I win my district, it will be my last term, city commissioner.
Tough question.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, whoever asked that question, there's your answer. Next question. The city has the option to subscribe or to discontinue participation in the National Flood Insurance Program, which funnels millions of dollars in premiums out of Alamogordo each year. Is participation a good choice? Who wants to tackle that one? I'd love to tackle that one, but it's not my thing. Joe, go ahead.
Well, I think we need to participate in it because, well, we saw what happened with Sun Streets and all that, and one of our former district attorneys is now suing us. He's representing a whole bunch of people on class action. And if we didn't have that insurance, we'd be paying, you guys would be paying out of your pocket for us. So I think that we should participate in it. I don't believe that we need to participate in anything more than we have to, but we need to protect the citizens, and it's all the taxpayers, not just the people that get flooded, because if it happens and some judge will say, excuse me, Bill, they'll say, well, you guys didn't do it quite right, so then the taxpayers will have to pay, so we need to be covered on that.
Thank you.
Ronnie, could you have Stan when they speak? It's such a hard to hear in this argument.
Yes, sir, I will.
Give me the mic, Stan.
And if y'all can't hear, just yell, please.
4 or 5 years ago, that Marble Canyon flood was devastating to many of the citizens down in Otero. I am for the flood insurance.
I personally hate paying insurance. I play it on my home and my store, but I think it's necessary, and so I would keep it.
I'm for it too. The last flood that we had, I had to pay a lot of, I had to help a lot of people that didn't have insurance out of their homes. I helped them with their flood, taking their furniture out, recovering their house, and getting back in their feet. So I'm for that insurance.
Even as an individual, we incur a lot of expense and liability just being an individual, which makes it necessary to have insurance. So yes, I'm for the business insurance.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, I'm for it. Real quickly, I think one thing that we definitely do is we need to relook at the flood zoning for the residents in Alamogordo. A lot of people are having to pay a lot of insurance for flood zoning when they're not really in the flood zone, I believe. So I think we need to try to push that as much as we can.
Rebuttal? Did anybody else want to say before? Oh, yeah, but Tom, I thought you, I'm sorry, Robert. Go ahead, Robert.
The Marble Canyon flood came right down Abbott, and that's my district there. The people that lived there never suspected it was going to happen and never thought it would. The flood insurance is probably something that we've got to keep. But here's what's been happening. Is the city and the U.S. Corps of Engineers are spending millions of dollars developing a canal system, if you will, around Alamogordo. A lot of that has become a non-issue, and what needs to happen is that's completed. There's the FEMA maps, all that needs to be readdressed again, and we need to figure out who really is and is not in a flood zone, because there's a lot of people right now, and particularly because of what the U.S. Corps of Engineers, and they're working to this day, they're down on the other side of White Sands, working on McKinley Channel, coming back this way. We've got plans for it to come from the north side of town, out of the Dry Canyon flood zone, all the problems we've got over 25th Street. We're really looking to address that, the problems we have down, see Jimmy Randall, but the problems we have down on Lawrence, we're really looking to address all that stuff, and a lot of what the long-term plans of the city are will address a lot of that.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Al.
I also agree. I think it's something that we need to have, but we really need to look at the different areas and make sure that the people are assessed correctly. The other issue with the flood, is when you come in to build a house or something, you're restricted as to the level of the property that it has to be at, which can be quite costly. So I think all that really needs to be evaluated. I was working at the hospital when we had a 25-year event, and then we had the 50-year event later. The hospital was flooded because we didn't have curbs up yet, and I mean, it was very devastating. So yes, I think it's very important.
Yes, I am, as it's been stated by several people. You just said I had a soft voice. That kind of hurts my feelings.
Shoots a good game of golf.
Yes. My district is District 1, which is the northeast side of Alamogordo. And as I've walked my district, I've talked to several people, keeping this short. They've discussed that as the landscape in their area has changed with the hospital, that the canals have reacted differently to the floods. So there's no guaranteed plan as our landscape changes throughout Alamogordo. As homes go up and residential areas go up, as commercial properties go up, that will all change, and you just never know.
Did you want to? You don't have to. All right. As your elected official at the county level, I have to tell you something. The FEMA, if we don't have it, you can't borrow money on your house because it's federal dollars. It's blackmail. It's the way it is. I'm sorry. I have to tell you, you paid me to do that. So I do represent you whether I'm here or not. I'll shut up now. They gave good answers. How do you propose to improve the views seen from the bypass? And how would you propose to capture potential lost business by people driving around the city? Who wants to tackle it? Let me read it again because it's kind of a two-part question. How do you propose to improve the view seen from the bypass? And how would you propose to capture potential lost business by people driving around the city? Now I see you had your hand up first. Go right ahead.
Ronnie, I don't think it's just the bypass. I think it's every entrance in and through Alamogordo. One of the things that I'd like to do is we have a great volunteer system here in Alamogordo. I'd like to put that to work along with the complainers. As you can put all of this together, including the jail help, if it's still available. I know that changes off and on. And do a cleanup, whether it's once a month, once a quarter, whatever it is. Of course, you have to have, property owners' permission. And most of them, if it's free to them, who's going to say no? Okay. As far as getting businesses in here, I took the class at the Chamber of Commerce this last year. It was a great class. I learned a lot about what happens here in Alamogordo and the businesses in Alamogordo. And I think one of the biggest things that we need to do is retrain people. Personal skills is very important. When somebody comes into your store, you want to keep them in there. You don't want them to turn around and walk out and never come back. I think it's very important that we all learn and train and learn how to keep people coming in and not run them off.
Thank you.
Certainly, as far as the overpass, I would certainly say coming into any city, it's good if you have a sort of a panoramic view and that's well landscaped, well lit, and perhaps some ingenious thought of maybe an arch or something that is truly representative, that really amplifies Alamogordo. That's number one. As far as people driving around and getting them to come back, I would say we could do a lot as far as the city cleanup, keeping the streets clean, following up with the code enforcement as far as signs, so that driving around you don't see just unnecessarily a lot of unused vehicles parked on the sidewalk and in the cars and on the streets. And so beautification would be a big thing, as well as creating the infrastructure in terms of improving the stores, shopping and other things that would entrap on myself when I want to go shopping. Just sorry to say it, a lot of things I need, I can't find in El Gordo. I'm forced to go to Las Cruces or El Paso, not because I want to, but I would like to keep the dollars here. But consequently, those items I may need are not here. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert has his hand up first, and then I'll come back.
From the overpass, I look around and I see mountains. I see the white sands. I see the San Andreas. I think it's beautiful. You know, it's when your eyes come down, sometimes you don't see things you'd like to see. And we do have, there's private property and we have private property rights. A lot of the problem that we have is in the county. And I actually have really tried to tackle that a year ago, as you might remember. I got beat pretty severely by trying to tie the weeds of the city to the signs that were selling the property. And I kind of lost that. I learned a lot there, and that counts.
Don't get ahead of my next question.
But what you remember too is for all this, the city's been working hard to clean up dilapidated buildings. We've been working with the property owners. You know, we've condemned several buildings. You know, and we actually had really good support when it finally comes down to finding these people. They'll come in and start to clean up their property. The city does not want to take their building down. I can promise you that. That's the last thing we need to do. We want the owners to take care of their properties. And we strive to get that done. And in many places we've done well. I mean, when it comes, let me talk a little bit second longer. When it comes to the north side of town coming in, when Richardson's Secretary of Transportation, I can't think his last name, was here. Yeah, we had a discussion with him about that. You know, it's just beautiful. You come to the north side of the city, what do you see? A bunch of Jersey barricades and 20, foot tall, but field-sized asphalt piles out there. You know, I asked him, can't you do something about that? Let's make it a place where people can park, make them a second. And of course he said, yeah, that's a good idea. And at the same time we asked him to fix the bypass, the road out there, and anyway, they did the work on the bypass. We had a fatality out there, and they continued that, but they didn't do anything down on the north side. I'm looking forward to meeting with the current Secretary of Transportation sometime to see if they won't do something.
John Barilla.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Oh, you may. Don't start seeing.
There's a shortage of rest areas in New Mexico in general, but I think that we need a rest area over on that bypass so that people can stop and take a look up and look at that beautiful white sands and mountains and whatever we have to offer around. And making that a pretty place, somewhere that's decorative and aesthetic, that might really attract somebody to come into town and purchase something. Simple.
Okay. I'll go to this side. Chris.
Sorry, Chair. I know my answer probably won't be very popular, but I'm just being honest. The bypass is meant to be a bypass, and it's a bypass. That's what she said. I think a lot of people are already upset that there's lights out there, but I mean, when they built it, I just think they didn't take consideration. I used to live behind the Running Indian, and there should be accidents out there all the time. The Running Indian and Love's Gate Road in 54. So those lights are put in. I don't think any more people want to see lights put on or people trying to pyramid into the city. If more people come to the city, bear the city, bear the environment here in Alamogordo. When they're coming on, before they go onto the bypass, better that area. When they're coming the other way or going out, better that area. Try to attract them and show them what's here before they go on that bypass. But when they go on that bypass, that's what the bypass is for. And when I go through Roswell, I want to bypass it, I'm going to bypass it. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much for your answers. Before we go any further, I want to make sure to mention thanks to Amy at AlamogordoLive.com. Over there, let's give her a hand. She's been at a lot of these events, live streaming them, and they can be watched online at AlamogordoLive.net. So not .com, I think that's it. .net, is that right?
Yep, .net.
And if you want to go back, and this would be something I'm sure you all would like to go home and watch time after time again. Especially for the MC reasons, you'll pick up some jokes. Okay, here's, and Robert, you got ahead of me there, buddy. And It says, in July of 2010, the commission took a stance on weeds. Some members of the commission took a hard stance. Not pointing fingers. How do you feel about the enforcement of weeds in Alamogordo? And do you feel realtors should be responsible for other property that they, for the property that they list? All right, I'm gonna start way down here. Stay away from that. Not looking.
I'll make it short.
Okay.
I certainly feel that the realtor, they take on the property to sell it, lease it, or whatever. Then along with that comes an inherent responsibility to maintain that property in a sightly manner. Also, I believe that weed control is really important. The problem being weed code enforcement. I think it has to do with the enforcement of the codes that are on the book. It's just like any other law. A lot of laws are on the book, but they're not enforced. It doesn't mean anything. So we just need a good, strong code enforcement bureau going out there who would have the authority, along with just rather than writing it up, having some consequence that goes along with it.
Thank you. Let me plot back and forth. I'm going to let Robert talk, and then I'll go Al, and I'll go Joe, and I'll go Tom.
Weeds are near and dear to my heart. I really tried hard to get something done there, and we did accomplish some. We did find out that we cannot tie that sign to the weeds. There's state law involved, and there's case law involved in it, and there's a great big lobbying people that have lots of lawyers that will come and beat you if you try to do that. So, that being said, here's what we did. We took, and it used to be whenever you wanted to basin weed, when you had a complaint, it was 3 certified letters back and forth. It was 90 days before, and it would go into 120 days before you could do anything. Well, if that happened in June, guess what? You're in October before you can do anything. What we did manage to do is shorten that period. And now it's a 30 day from the time you call till you can evade weeds. The other thing we did that was nice for weeds, for those of you that don't know, is we were able to wrestle telephone numbers away from the school system. It's 43 weeds. 43 WEEDS. If you're driving down the street with your cell phone, you see some weeds, please pull over first. Call that number and say, these weeds look pretty unsightly here. And they'll come get this. You know, what the city needs to be looking at, and our enforcement officers need to really look at, we'll leave it to the citizens to complain about your neighbors, if you will. What we really need to hit in White Sands, the main thoroughfares is really needs to be a point of attack for our code officer, trying to make sure that stuff is cleaned up. But again, don't forget, 4-3 weeds, use it.
Thank you. Al.
Ronnie, to answer your question, I think that, I believe that if a realtor takes on a home, the homeowner should still be responsible for those weeds. Now, if the homeowner is not available, like they move out of town or whatever, it's a military family, then the realtor should have some provision in their contract that they would charge for weed removal, just like we would any other citizen. So I believe they should be responsible for their properties. The second part of it is, during this election, I went to code enforcement one day and asked a question of them and told him that I believed that they needed to do something. And so he said, well, okay, we'll look at it. And so I went back and I said, well, you got half of it. And I said, well, he asked me, well, what do you want me to do? I'd like you to take care of the issue, which is the entire property. And so I think code enforcement needs to have a lot more authority, a little bit more bite. The 30 days is great. I still think that when they come to your house, it should be like a police officer coming to your house. If he writes you a citation, it's a citation.
Thank you. Joe, you were next.
Well, I believe we need to have the code enforcement with the weeds, and the only reason, I don't believe anyone does what we have to have, but the only reason is it interferes with other people's rights. Whenever you have weeds, it decreases the value of your neighbor's property and things like that, so that's the only reason we have it. The other thing is that I was going to say, it's a realtor. The realtors, I don't believe they ought to be responsible if they're just listing a home, but if they are the property managers, then they do need to be responsible. If someone's weeds are growing up And they have listed, we're going to go out to the homeowner anyway, and we'll just do it, and we just attach it and they can trace it whether they're here or not. And because we don't want to deplete the other person's property, if they're interfering with somebody else's rights. But I don't think that the realtor ought to be held accountable just because they listed the home and they're trying to sell it. Because most of them are multiple listings anyway, so if somebody else sells it, is that realtor going to be responsible? So I don't think we ought to do it. But if you're managing the property, yeah, you need to be responsible for it.
Thank you.
I guess the weeds issue to me, in my experience, I think I had a problem with weeds once. Somebody moved out of a store next to mine, and it grew up. And I called in, and the next thing you know, the guy cleaned up. So either I'm lucky or, but I didn't realize that much problems down here in front.
Okay, I'm just, we're going to go all the way through. You don't have to speak if you don't want.
The weed problem, I have talked with code enforcement. They're like the police department. They're lacking of employment. There's only a couple of them. They get between 100 to 1,000 a week. And they gotta go there and inspect it. And sometimes they don't get it done because they don't have personnel to help them. And yeah, if the realty is responsible for that area, they could have somebody in there to hire to do the weeds for them, or the owners, if they're still in town. Have somebody come in there and clean up their mess they left behind.
Thank you.
In the last quarter, in 90 days, there were 288 calls for unlawful growth of weeds. That's a lot of calls in 90 days for weeds. That's a big problem here. I think what could happen to help better our process in code enforcement, to streamline the process, is to allow them to have more authority. They should, when they are called out there, if they see the weeds, they should be able to write a citation on the site. I think that would streamline the process, and property owners would be more responsive to cleaning up their property more quickly. I am against real estate agents being responsible for the property. I believe it's the property owner's responsibility until they have sold that property to another property owner. Thank you.
Okay, let me get everybody up. Let's show you up. Would you like to speak? Let me get the microphone.
I see this problem with weeds as a symptom of a lot bigger problem. It sounds like staffing and the power that somebody has to be able to give a citation, those kinds of things need to be looked at, because why do we have these problems? That's what I'd like to know, and I would ask that a few times before I could really address the weed issue. It really does seem like a symptom of a way bigger problem.
Thank you.
I think we should keep it the way it is and keep going out to the homeowners. If the homeowners want to contact the realty company that they hired and ask them to take care of that problem, let them do that. That's what we need for the city commission. Start telling realty companies and residents how to write their contracts up. That's not for us to do. The one thing I would like to say is my predecessor over here, Aaron Rant, he was real big on this when he took over District 2 on the weeds and cleaning up and making Amber a lot better. Grenster as well. He upset a lot of realtors. He upset a lot of businesses and a lot of voters. And a lot of people are upset at him for the stance he took. But let me tell you what, that's what being a representative is all about. It's not about your career, your political career, getting elected next time. It's about doing what's right and what's best for Alamogordo. I commend both of them.
Well, now I realize the letter I got a year ago I owe to you. Thank you. In reference to the realtors at Echo, Chris and candidate Galea, of course we need to have our city as nice as we possibly can. But I also like to see, as anything we do in life, is to make sure the city of Alamogordo leads by example.
Thank you. Last question. liquor license seem to be a problem in Alamogordo. Do you have any ideas on how Alamogordo could work with the state and our representatives to allow more restrictions? Is that what, that looks like to me in town. And I don't know if you're asking less restrictions or more restrictions. If anyone who wrote that wants to.
That was me, less restrictions. Try to allow more liquor licenses in this area.
Okay, well, that's the reason we read allow more restrictions. It should be.
I think somebody was talking to me when both of you were talking.
Okay, and I thought that's what you meant. I was trying to read your thoughts.
How can we work with our state and our state representatives to basically open up for more restaurants and things to come to the show?
There you got it from the horse's mouth.
There you go.
All right, who wants to tackle that first? Robert?
Liquor licenses have been an issue now in New Mexico for years. You know, what they did back in the 70s, they issued them based upon per capita 2,000. And then they quit issuing them. So what's happened is their value has gone up. And right now, John Creasel over there, in order, before they could put a shovel in the dirt, they spent something on the area of $325,000 for a dispensary license. You know, limiting these licenses really hurt us. And Mayor Griggs has gone for years at this problem, and we finally this year looks like we're making a little headway. There's been codes, there's been law written. We've attempted to get it to the legislature. The problem is people that own these licenses release them out. There's big lobbyists again, and we just simply have a legislature problem up there to get this stuff done. We did get the head of the Alcohol Licensing Bureau to say and recognize this last municipal day up in Santa Fe. He said there is a problem. The liquor licenses need a solution, and that's a big step forward to actually get one of the bureaucratic organizations up there to admit that there's actually a problem. And there what we go is that somehow we have to protect the interest that's currently in the liquor licenses. What you find is people borrow money against them. They're part of the mortgage on their building. And so the state just can't simply start issuing them for $10,000 because all of a sudden the liquor license that you paid $750,000 for isn't worth nothing. So we have this immense problem. And what it's going to take, what it's going to take is probably 10 years where you start issuing licenses at the state at the $100,000 level or something somewhere in that order. So there's still, the value is still up there. And the people that own now have been 10 years to wheel or deal or do whatever they'll do with their liquor license until they finally all revert back to the state. I think it's a long-term process. It took us a long time to get here. So it's going to take a while. And now Florida needs those dispensary licenses here. It's how we can get, I mean, any of those restaurants you want to see, the grocery stores we'd all like to have, all of them need liquor licenses, and they've all got to come from somewhere. It's a real problem.
Thank you, Robert. Besides, you know, I can let me get Crystal. I don't have a name.
I'll be quick. Robert said exactly what I was going to say, word for word. So, again, kudos to Mayor Griggs. I think he has a great idea for this. He's been working very hard. We need to support that. And everything he said, I can't say that good.
You all in the same district?
No. Else I wouldn't agree.
Well, I got some inside information on one liquor license right now that's currently up for bid, and I believe it's at about $650,000 right now. So that is part of the problem, and I hope he sells it before. I've heard there's also some litigation where they're trying to bring in additional liquor licenses and stuff. As far as the restaurants and stuff, I don't think most of them sell packaged liquor. They sell within the liquor, so it's beer and wine. The stores that we'd like, we'd have to have the packaged liquors for like, another Smith's or Albertsons or such. So, yeah, I think it is a problem when a lot of our liquor licenses went north and lost out.
Down to about 8 minutes left, and we will wrap this up on time.
As stated earlier, this is a state issue. I think our city commissioners need to continue to work with our local representatives that speak with our state leaders to change the law. I know that a lot of people that currently have liquor licenses want to see a grandfather clause so that they don't diminish in value. So they're having to cater to two parties. And so I think as a city, as we continue to work with our local representatives that work with our state, I think we'll be able to come to some kind of term where we'll be able to be allotted more full liquor licenses. For the beer and wine license, like if an Olive Garden wanted to come in here, they could. It's just a beer and wine license. The issue is our full liquor license. And another issue is our census count for 2010. We were reported as having a lower population than we currently do. And if they issue our liquor license at 2,000 per capita, then we have a problem. And we can't dispute the number of people that we have here in the city, but we are, as a city, working to dispute the number of homes that are here.
Real quick, and then we'll wrap this up.
Several years ago, I had some colleagues out of state came over. We were trying to get a liquor license for 3.2 beer because we were trying to put a bar here for teenagers, but they could only drink 3.2 beer, but they told us how much it was going to cost us.
Okay, I'm going to do something that's not on the agenda. First of all, let's give all these guys and gals a hand. It takes a lot out of your personal life to be allowed to come up here and run and to represent people, and I applaud every one of you for trying. Good luck to every one of you, that the ones that win and the ones that don't be discouraged. We appreciate you trying to serve. It's good to have the choice to American people to serve. Now, before I end this, I don't know, I'm going to try to give you one quick 30-second, maybe minute to say why people should vote for you. I'm going to go down districts. District 1 has Richard Decker, Jason Golden, and William Pollard, which I think people are here. So we'll call it District 1. People stand up.
Is this my last chance to speak today?
Yes.
Fair enough. First, in a minute, I'd like to thank Rocky Galasini, the Republican Party of Otero County, and of course our MC Commissioner Reardon for having us tonight. It's a great event. It's a great opportunity for you to get to know us on a personal level. We're asked to take a stand on a lot of very important issues. But most importantly, what we need to remember is, as city commissioners, if we're elected, that we do have just one employee, that's the city manager. We're there to facilitate him to help him do what he does, create policy, and to work for the best possible outcome for Alamogordo. I don't plan to reinvent the wheel if it comes to fruition and I am elected city commissioner for District 1. I just hope to balance that wheel and make sure it keeps rolling forward.
Very good. And I don't guess there's anyone else from District 1. I didn't see him. Okay, District 3, you got Robert Rensler, Mary Alicia Rios, and Andrew Baker, and I think only two of you are here. But both District 3, stand up, please, and both of you just stand up and you tell us about you, and when you're through, you can sit down. Robert, take over. Here, ladies first.
What I bring to the table is a totally different perspective. I've been in state and city government for the better part of 30 years in management, and I see a lot of issues. I saw a lot of issues in working with the city that I feel strongly need to be addressed. A lot of staffing and a lot of other things, and even though there's only one employee, I would like to make sure that that employee is doing the job that I think the citizens deserve.
Thank you. He's got a big oven behind us.
Well, first I'd like to say I'm proud to be here tonight. I'm proud that we opened this with prayer. I'm proud that we opened it with the pledge. It makes me proud to be an American, proud to be New Mexican, proud to be an Otero County, and an Alamogordo resident. And I think that going forward here on the City Commission, I've learned a lot the last 3 years that I have been on the Commission. We're doing a lot of good things for Alamogordo. 40-year water plan. We just started a wastewater treatment plant rebuild. We're looking at streets. We've got a lot going on right now, and we're We're trying hard to get our legislators to understand and push bills for us that will continue to improve the quality of life here in Alamogordo. I would appreciate, is anybody here from District 3? Ah, there you go. Okay. Well, I would appreciate your vote on March 6th, that'd be Tuesday. Please come and vote, even if you don't vote for me. I would appreciate your vote, and we have closing on Mayor Carter.
Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate that. Now that, then Andrew Baker, who did not, for whatever reason.
He's dropped out.
Oh, then I guess he does not want to be here. District 5 seems to have the most biggest race here. Al Hernandez, Jesse Carr, Robert Valdez, J.C. Ferguson, which is Joe Ferguson, Chris Lujan, and Miguel Rosales. Now, are they all still in the race? Are they all? Okay. If you guys would all stand up from District 5, please. Stand up. And we're going to go, I have it in order here. Al, you're first. If you just tell us in a minute.
I served as District 3, which is actually District 5 now, City Commissioner many years back. Like what I did, I thought I was done when I got out of the commission. And then, like I said earlier, I took the class with the Chamber of Commerce, the Leadership Otero. One of the things I learned from Leadership Otero was about 80% of my classmates didn't know what Alamogordo had to offer. And so that opened my eyes up and said, okay, you need to get back in and work with your people and explain to them what Alamogordo has to offer, because we have so much here. And I wanted to get elected and work for you, the citizens of Alamogordo, whether you live in District 5, whether you live in Otero County, it doesn't matter to me. I want to be here to serve you.
Thank you. Chris. Oh, wait, let me see. I gotta go down to Jesse Carr. No, he's not here. Robert. Joe. You're next on the list.
Well,
oh, Robert. I'm sorry. I skipped you. Robert, you're next. I'm not very good.
Okay. I'm Robert Valdez. My last commission that I ever did, I was a mayor for Valdez in Alaska. I was there 2 years because I was stationed in Fort Richardson. And I told him I can only be 2 years because I don't know how fast we're going to move out of here. As soon as we finish our training, Army's going to send us somewhere else where they need us most. I'm here to help the community and improve the community. And maybe I can get people hired. Because I'm thinking of moving out of Canada back to the city of New Mexico. I have a business in Canada. And the industry that I have, well, I'm still working on the property. And if I do the district, I will try and help the district as much as I can, and the city of Alamogordo, and the county. That's what I'm here for. I hope you vote for me. Maybe we'll have a different case.
Thank you, Robert. You can have a seat. Joe, you're next.
I appreciate everybody coming out, and I appreciate you guys inviting me. And I really appreciate if you guys show up for some of the commission meetings, because it's kind of lonely up there. And I would like to have some friends on it. The reason that I ran again, there's some things that I hadn't finished yet that I'd like to get done. One of them was my park in Chalarita. Making arrangements with almost 7.5 acres. I didn't have a park in my district until I got redistricted. Now I have Alameda Park, but that's not one for kids over there. None of my kids can get over there, so I want to finish that. And then I'd like to get a size of our city government reduced. We waste too much money over there. We have a machine that does cleans the street and fills in the cracks over there. Paid a bunch of money for it. It hasn't been used for almost a year and a half. It's brand new. And if I get elected again, I'm gonna have the city manager bring it to the city hall so you guys can see it, because it's hidden. And put a big for sale sign on it. See if we can get rid of some of that stuff. One of the quick thing is the debt to equity ratio of the city is like 8.5 to 1. Golden should be on 2 to 1. In other words, we've got more money than what we need, and it belongs to you guys. We need to spend it wisely and reduce it down. We don't need to be as big as we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Chris, you're 5 the last one.
I feel we all came out here tonight because, you know, we had to. We want to come out here. We want to get votes. You guys didn't have to be here, you know, honestly. And you guys came out. you want to. I really appreciate it, honestly. When there's more people that come out, it gets us more into it. It makes it a lot more serious. And so I really thank you guys for coming out. I have a kind of a little motto or a little slogan for my campaign. And it's a little corny, but I honestly mean it. I truly mean it. And that said, if you guys will be my voice on March 6th, I'll be your voice for the next 4 years.
Thank you very much. In District 7, we have Susie Aaliyah and Thomas Olive. And both of you stand up. Susie, you're first on the, well, here, they're not in alphabetical order. I just realized that.
I'm Susie Galea, and I'm grateful to be here. The city commissioners have done a great job. They've left us in great financial shape, and I'm honored to be here in Alamogordo. I love Alamogordo. I'm a mother of 2, military spouse of 11 years. As a military spouse, I feel I can represent some of the voices of the military that come here and also love Alamogordo. I am an accountant and a business owner and a business manager. I think what I bring to Alamogordo as a commissioner is my understanding of budgets and financial analysis. I think I would do a good job as the watchful monitor that you all would need as citizens on the commission. And I am just grateful to be here, and I would greatly appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And Richard's in here also. I'm so sorry. Glare on my iPad here. Thomas, you're next.
Yes, thank you. First, I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I love coffee, if you didn't know that. I've been in the coffee business 15 years. I took my business from the first year from 0 to $500,000 by the 7th year. If I get your vote, you can depend on me giving you that same enthusiasm and drive that helped me distribute my coffee from here to Colorado to Lubbock. You'll get the same hard work and dedication. And then the only other thing I should say, I think, is I never ran for anything before. I never did. And I think really the impetus behind it was our national politics. It was driving me nuts, and I thought, I got to get involved someplace. Thank you.
Richard, not your last but not least service.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Church. First, I want to just thank Rocky Galassini, the chair of the Republican Party, and to all of the attendees that came out tonight to hear us what we have to say. My hope is that if elected, I come with a mind to serve. With that concept, I believe that I'm not looking to come as a rogue or a Mr. Fix-It-All, that I have all the answers and all the solutions to all of the problems. Being in the Air Force and serving as a aircraft jet engine mechanic and going to Northrop Institute of Technology and going overseas and teaching aircraft maintenance. Also being the owner of the Yellow Cab Company of Youngstown, Ohio, running for office there. Also, when the ready teller machines came out, they were ATMs then. I had a building maintenance service company in Los Angeles, California, with many employees and a very thriving business. So I bring to the table my experience, my willingness to serve the people of District 7 and also the people of Alamogordo, if given the chance. With that, closing remark, I want to wish well to every candidate that is running. Whoever wins, let us serve and serve well.
Very well said. Let's give them all one more time. Thank you for coming out tonight. I believe that wraps it up, and we look forward to the next forum. And remember, there's some very important issues March 6th for the election. Get out and vote. Thank you all. Good luck to you.